today's video, we're delving into the realm of human experimentation, where the boundaries of ethics and scientific progress often clash. Join me as we explore the 5 most controversial human experiments ever conducted. Human experimentation has long been a subject of debate, with researchers treading a fine line between advancement and exploitation. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Experiment 1. Tuskegee Syphilis Study. Our first controversial experiment takes us back to the United States in the early 20th century. The Tuskegee Syphilis Study, conducted by the U.S. Public Health Service, aimed to observe the natural progression of untreated syphilis in African American men. For over 40 years, from 1932 to 1972, participants in the study were denied proper treatment for syphilis, even after penicillin became widely available as a cure. This blatant disregard for the well-being of the participants raises serious ethical concerns and highlights the systemic racism prevalent in the medical community at the time. Experiment 2. The Stanford Prison Experiment. Our next controversial experiment is perhaps one of the most infamous psychological studies of all time. The Stanford Prison Experiment, conducted by psychologist Philip Zimbardo in 1971. Zimbardo aimed to investigate the psychological effects of perceived power by simulating a prison environment and randomly assigning participants to the roles of guards and prisoners. However, the experiment quickly spiraled out of control, with guards exhibiting abusive behavior and prisoners experiencing severe psychological distress. Critics argue that the study lacked proper oversight and exposed participants to unnecessary harm, ultimately calling into question the validity of its findings. Experiment 3. Unit 731. Our next controversial experiment takes us to wartime Japan and the notorious Unit 731, a covert biological and chemical warfare research unit of the Imperial Japanese Army during World War II. Led by Shiro Ishii, Unit 731 conducted horrific experiments on thousands of innocent civilians, including vivisection without anesthesia, forced exposure to pathogens, and frostbite testing. These atrocities were conducted in the name of scientific research and military advancement, with little regard for the lives of the victims. Experiment 4. MK Ultra. Our fourth controversial experiment brings us to the shadowy world of mind control and covert government operations. MK Ultra, a top-secret CIA program conducted from the 1950s to the 1970s, aimed to develop techniques for interrogation and psychological warfare. Under MK Ultra, unsuspecting individuals were subjected to experiments involving psychedelic drugs, hypnosis, and sensory deprivation, often without their consent or knowledge. The program's unethical methods and lack of oversight led to severe psychological trauma for many of its unwitting participants. Experiment 5. Willowbrook State School. Our final controversial experiment takes us to Willowbrook State School, a facility for children with intellectual disabilities located in New York. In the 1950s and 1960s, Dr. Saul Krugman conducted research on hepatitis at Willowbrook, intentionally infecting children with the virus to study its effects and test experimental vaccines. While Krugman's research contributed to the development of a hepatitis vaccine, his methods of experimentation and the conditions at Willowbrook were deeply unethical. And there you have it, the 5 most controversial human experiments ever conducted. These cases serve as stark reminders of the ethical dilemmas inherent in scientific research and the importance of upholding the rights and dignity of all human beings. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the darker side of scientific history. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content exploring the fascinating world of science. Until next time, stay curious and question everything.